Hey friends, welcome back to another episode of Space for Life. Get ready today to be both inspired and challenged. Today's topic is one I haven't really addressed directly, but I think it's such a core subject for everything that we want to do in life to be all that we can be. So today's subject is bravery. And I have as my special guest, Jill Schulman, who I think I could say very fairly is a bravery expert. And I don't say that lightly because bravery is something we can just talk about in general, but Jill has studied bravery for, in essence, your entire adult life, it seems like. And so you come at this not just with some general inspiring thoughts, but with science behind it. Jill is the author of The Bravery Effect. And that's kind of how I got introduced to her, because I saw that book online and was intrigued by it because it's a subject that intrigues me, read it and loved the book. And so unusual for me, I just kind of reached out online, did a brave thing, and reached out to her. She was great enough to agree to come and share so much of her wisdom on this area and her expertise on bravery. So I'll let her tell a lot of her story, but just a few little tidbits. She is a former U.S. Marine Corps officer, and she's a leadership development expert and founder of Breakthrough Leadership Group. And so she's already the author of The Bravery Effect and soon to come out, am I correct, The Science of Bravery?
There will be a book number 2 that will be coming out. That's going to be the nonfiction companion book. So yes, there's a lot of work to do before that will be coming out, but yeah, coming soon.
That's great. Well, one of the things that I thought was so interesting about Bravery Effect, and then I'll let you kind of tell your story, is that you chose to tell the story from a fiction standpoint. Mm-hmm. And I thought, well, that's kind of interesting and a different angle, but it made the subject so easy to access. And I really love that. And yet you were able to tell a story about bravery, a fictional story, in such a way that it was very clear the lessons that you teach about bravery. So I really appreciated that and thoroughly enjoyed the book. So Jill, welcome to Space for Life. And I'd love for you to just tell your story, because I think it sounds like it's a really fascinating one, and one I don't know too much about.
Well, I'm so glad you found the book first, that you saw whatever ad and you grabbed it and bought it. And I'm glad you recognized the format being that of a story. I mean, as long as any of us can remember, stories are one of the best vehicles for teaching lessons in life. So instead of me just going through all the science, which I find fascinating, other people think might be a little bit boring, I chose to use a story so that hopefully it's accessible, it's easy, and the science of bravery sticks. Yeah. So a little bit about me. I feel like I learned about bravery and the School of Hard Knocks is just like living life before I went back to the University of Pennsylvania and studied psychology and did my capstone on the subject. But I'd say probably the only thing I can say about my background is anytime I chose to move towards something that I feared or something that scared me a little bit, whenever I moved toward it and overcame the fear, it ended up, I guess, resulting in the best things in life. And anytime I allowed fear or discomfort to make me run away from it and not go toward that thing that I want, it led, me and my life to be like less happy and less fulfilled. So I think throughout my life, I had, these opportunities to test when I was brave and what it led to when I was brave, and when I was not brave and I cowered in the face of, fear and didn't go towards something. And then that had a negative impact on my life. So that was kind of my life experience. And someone I do leadership development in organizations. So, I work with organizations, I speak to organizations and help them drive results from the human side of performance, leadership, culture, etc. So when I went back to school, I was very interested in what is one of the biggest blockers to not just success, but really happiness and well-being. I do care about companies impacting the bottom line and being more successful, but what I care about even more is people thriving. Not just people surviving, getting through the day at work, but for people to really be thriving. And what I found is bravery bridged the gap. It allowed people to achieve more, be more successful, but it allowed them to feel higher levels of self-confidence, self-efficacy, self-esteem, self-love, and it ended up making their life so much better. So that's kind of a quick story I've got lots of stories of in the Marine Corps and corporate America, but I think that's just the one thread that went through my entire life and what led me to studying.
Was there a first decision towards bravery that you can remember that kind of was an aha of, oh, something happened when I made this decision?
Well, I think if I go way back to when I started my journey to earn the title of United States Marine, that's the first story that I think still shapes who I am today. I was growing up in the Midwest, Minnesota, and getting on a plane when I was 18 years old to head down to San Diego. I had a full scholarship on the Marine Corps. So for me, the scary thing was, okay, am I going to go on the other side of the country, go to college and, train to become a Marine? All these things were very exciting, but also a little bit scary, right? And I think that's a good analogy for so many people in life. Like, people want things, but it's a little bit scary, so they don't really do it. So for me, I'm like, okay, that was the first kind of brave leap. I ended up applying for the scholarship. I received the scholarship. I had this opportunity, free college, career with meaning. So I went for it. And when I landed in San Diego, I had to get there about a week early before all the other college kids did, because there was they called it an ROTC orientation. So basically like a little mini boot camp for all of the, those of us officer candidates that were showing up. And that first day was a shock. I thought it would just be open arms, welcome to college. No, it was, stand at attention. And on day one, one of the Marines I looked up to came to me and said, "You're never going to make it as a Marine." And I think a little part of me inside thought, is he right? But a part of me inside said, no, I want this. I can do this. So on that first day, I'd decide, like, do I stay? Or I could have gone back home. At home, it's comfortable. All the people that love me, it would have been easy. I had this choice to make. Do I choose ease and comfort, or do I decide to stay and keep showing up and facing that Marine, right? Knowing that it would be hard and challenging. So, day one, I always say this from the stage, but I kind of can look back and laugh at myself a little bit, because one of the things I was worried about when I was an 18-year-old girl, teenage girl, is what type of an outfit should I wear to make a good impression? And I did not choose wisely, because you're not supposed to wear jeans, because officers don't wear jeans. I've done that research. You can't wear jeans, and teenagers, that's all we do is wear jeans. I didn't want to wear a dress, because then it would be too girly. I wanted to be a Marine, not in the other services, because I wanted the hard one. So I did show up in like silk shorts that went down to my knees. I thought looked very professional, but they were hot pink with white polka dots. So
that must have been a sight.
Yeah, basically a stunt double of Elle from Legally Blonde is kind of how I showed up. So that probably gave me a little bit more attention that I really should have been seeking. So, that was the beginning of that journey. And then on day 2, Tommy, it got worse, because that was the first day that we had to get into formation and do our first run as Marines. I didn't earn the title of Marine yet, but as these candidates. And the hills of Southern California were like mountains to me. And I was used to training in Minnesota, where it's flat, it's farmland, right? So, and I couldn't keep up in the runs, and it was really shameful. And, but each day I had to keep showing up and going, do I choose in the face of fear and knowing that in front of me, it's going to be very hard? And this kind of goes to the definition of bravery too. Like, you have a choice not just in life and death moments, but it's in everyday choices. Do I take a step forward? Do I show up even though it's going to be hard and it's going to be scary? Or do I choose to cower, which is to step back and not face that fear or that adversity that is in between you and what you really want? So I kept choosing to show up, and it was not easy for 2 years, Tommy. 2 years. It took for me to really build that confidence, but little by little, my confidence, my strength, and I mean, I'm happy to report at the end of that college experience, I was very confident, very strong, and I actually came back as the top student, or the top person from officer candidate school back to my school, and I was named the midshipman battalion commander, so the top student at my school. So that's kind of where it all started, where I realized, like, I'm so glad that I chose to keep moving forward to earn the title of Marine. But it wasn't just that. It was like in every aspect of life, right? In the Marine Corps, all Marine officers go to a place called the basic school. So like all Marine officers have to first learn how to be an infantry platoon commander in battle before you even know what your specialty is. Like I had all these decisions, like they had just opened up combat engineering to women, right? I'm like, that would be really cool to be one of the first. It's really hard. I'm going to be one of the first to lead Marines in this combat arm. Do I want to do it? Yeah. Is it scary? Yeah, but I did it. And again and again and again, anytime I chose the hard path, it led to a more fulfilling life, more success, but a more fulfilling life. And if I think back, if I would have chosen to go home back to Minnesota, I would have been living with regret. If I wouldn't have taken that MOS, that military occupational specialty, I would have been living with that pain of regret. So that's kind of what was wired into me. And I just knew about this intuitively. And you hear a lot of motivational speakers talk about, like, just do the hard thing. But I wanted to look at it scientifically from a psychology point of view. Like, it's easy to say, just do the hard thing. But I really wanted to know, like, what are the steps you can teach anyone to overcome fear so that they can live their best life?
Well, there's so many things I love about what you've said. There are a couple of things that kind of stand out to me. One is that I think there is a general impression that there are brave people and that there are not brave people. And yet what you're describing on the front end is that you had two different things going on. One that said, I want to do this, and one that said, I don't want to do this. I want to take the easier route. And you had to make the choice once, and then again and again and again to keep on that path. And at any point, there was the possibility, which was real. It was really in you to say, do I really want to do this? And I think that's so powerful, because I think that someone can easily look at you that has devoted your life, that stands up in front of people and is a leadership and development expert, and go, well, yeah, that's easy for her to say. And I think what you're suggesting that story is, it's not. So I recently wrote a little blog post, which I don't think I did in relationship to this, but it was entitled "Courage is a Muscle." And it's very much like what you're saying, is that, that first decision was critical. That first decision was a choice, but then you had to continue day after day to exercise it. And then eventually, after 2 years, you had developed some really strong bravery muscles, which is what we see today on the screen as we're talking. But that was, I'm sure, not the case when you showed up that day.
Yeah. I love that you said courage is a muscle, or you build it like a muscle, because that's exactly the analogy that I use, right? I mean, and we know this now with confidence based on the science. Just like we know muscles get stronger when we stress them and we do hard things. Our body is very resilient. So it says, wow, like I need to make my muscles stronger. So the next time we try to lift something like that, I'm stronger to be able to do that. The same thing actually happens in our brains. So when you do something that you don't want to do, but it's the right thing to do in order to have the impact that you want or to achieve a self-concordant goal, each time you do that, your brain is growing just like a muscle does. You're doing the uncomfortable thing, and then we actually see the brain adjusting based on these workouts. It's the ACC, which is part of the brain, also our prefrontal cortex, and then all of the networks that go within the brain. There's different parts of the brain that get larger. There's new pathways that are lighting up in our brain. And the more that we do that, those parts of our brain get stronger, and it makes it easier for us to do hard things. So this is what's so fascinating about the science of bravery is when I say anyone can learn to be brave. Anyone can. Just like anyone can get stronger if they go in the gym. It's not going to be easy, right? It's not going to be easy. But it's little by little by little. And that's why I called the book The Bravery Effect. The Bravery Effect. It's doing it consistently over time creates the bravery, and then the effect of when you do those things over time. It's amazing the transformation I see in people when they look in the mirror with great pride of who they are. When they look at themselves in the mirror, they're proud of who that person is, right? So when people build bravery, it's not even about the goal. It's who they become on the journey. And my master's degree is actually in positive psychology, which is the scientific study of helping people thrive. It's make individuals, teams, communities thrive and to flourish, to make them happier. So bravery, when people learn how to be brave, that's one of the things that helps them thrive and flourish in life. So,
it's so true. And, one of the, I think, additional kind of analogies with this, exercise is that, anytime, and I've had this happen many times over my adulthood where I got out of a routine of working out and then got back into it, those first decisions to work out are hard, of course, to be expected, but also they come with soreness. So those first few times you work out, and then it may be that very day you go, what in the world was I thinking? This is no fun. This is hard. I am sore, and this is going to last forever. And then after about 3 or 4 times, and it takes that, all of a sudden you're doing the same or even more of a workout, and you're not sore. It's still hard, but there's something that's positive that's going on and exciting because you're seeing changes happening, and the same pain is not present as it was in those workouts. That I think for many people who are starting a bravery journey is that first choice, and then choosing that choice again that second and third time when they're sore from that decision to be brave.
Yeah. Yeah. And as you're sharing that, it just makes me think of the opposite too. I think in today's society, we were chatting a little bit before the podcast, how people are so obsessed with comfort and ease, and with technology today, like we want everything to make life easier. So like a click of a button just can make everything easier. But the more we choose the easy path and run away from what's, hard, it actually makes us weaker, right? So where some people ask me, Jill, are you a resilience speaker? And I'm like, not really, because resilience is like teaching people when they get knocked down, how do they get back up? I want people to be able to get back up and to be strong and resilient. And they will learn that if they learn to be brave. But I want people to seek hardship and discomfort. If everything in your life is given to you and everything is easy, then you need to go out of your way to find ways to challenge yourself, to make yourself uncomfortable, your body uncomfortable by going into the gym. and your mind uncomfortable, like set a goal or a challenge that's going to get you out of your comfort zone so that you are very strong psychologically and you want to be strong physically. So that way, if something happens in life and life does knock you down, you're going to already be ready to jump right back up, instead of just waiting until adversity strikes to try to be strong. No, let's build the bravery muscle day in and day out. So we're just going to build that resilience muscle. Mm-hmm.
And it's so true. I love the Bible and read it regularly. And there's a verse in Proverbs that says, the righteous man falls 7 times and gets up. And I think the fascinating part about it is the righteous man is going to fall. It's going to fall a lot. But the differentiator is the getting up. Interpret that. So I think that's really powerful. You would love a recent episode on Space for Life was with a marriage and family counselor, Keith McCurdy, and the episode was on raising sturdy kids. And he talked about in this episode this epidemic that we have of fragile children, and that has come about because we never push them. We never challenge them. We never ask much of them. And so we're going to have a follow-up episode with him on becoming sturdy adults, because it's so, listen, and right along with this theme. And it's not that comfort is bad. It's that it needs to be in a proper balance.
Yes.
Within life. And it's that balance that adds the breadth to our experience and our joy.
Yeah. There's always the bell-shaped curve too, because, we do need the rest and recovery, right? So if you are doing hard things consistently to challenge yourself to build that bravery muscle, like at a certain point, you do need to rest, just like in the Bible on the 7th day, we rested. So I sometimes use the analogy, especially I'm talking to younger, generations and kids, and say, like, sometimes people say that, a great way to take care of yourself is to have like a self-care day, a me day. And what is self-care, right? Self-care maybe on day 7 is I'm going to sleep in, I'm going to relax, I'm going to watch some TV, some football, whatever people like to do. That is great on day 7. But if every single day you wake up and say, I'm going to have a self-care day and I'm going to sleep in, look at my phone and do all that, that's just being lazy, right? So we need to do the hard thing consistently, but we also need to recover. We need our sleep. We need to, we need to be balanced in all aspects of our lives. But if we're not seeking that discomfort, if we're not going after challenging things, we're gonna miss out on the best parts of life.
Yeah, it's so true. So what do you say? I'm sure you encounter this all the time. The person who says, I'm just not a brave person. That's great for you, but I'm just not that kind of person.
Mm-hmm. If that person was in front of me, I would say, you know what, right now, you're just not brave yet. Do you want to be brave? What is it in life that you really want, but fear is holding you back from getting there? Right? So it's, when you think about bravery, we know that anyone can build their bravery. We need to first convince them that is possible. And bravery, if we look at the definition too, like I like to define bravery, with my audiences and with my clients, is it's not just a firefighter running into a burning building. It's not just a Marine running into battle. Those are great examples of brave, heroic moments. But in everyday life, there's opportunities for us to be brave day in and day out. It may look like there's little opportunities for us to be brave. And that's what we need to focus on in our lives. So maybe there is a difficult conversation I need to have with someone at work. There's tension, and it is holding back our team from achieving the results. And it's also creating a not so great culture in our team environment. I need to have the difficult conversation. So there's an example of bravery. Bravery is defined as it's voluntary action in the presence of fear toward a noble, worthwhile goal. It's when there's the right thing that you should do, but it's uncomfortable or hard to do the thing. So it could be as simple as having the difficult conversation, choosing to have the difficult conversation versus just, avoiding the conversation. So there's a lot of examples, day in and day out, which are the micro-bravery. And just like, working out, I don't want people to do an Ironman once a year and expect they're going to be in great shape. Like, no, you need to work out consistently day in and day out. And it's the consistency that will build that strength over time. And it's the same thing with bravery, So if someone identifies a self-concordant goal, something that they really want, so it's intrinsically motivating to them, and they really want it, and say, okay, so now bravery is getting you to take steps toward what you want, even though you've got some fear, your fear of failure, your fear of feeling like you may not be good enough, whatever self-limiting beliefs. So bravery, it's very personal. Like, someone might look really brave on the outside because they're really strong and they've got, a voice that beams in front of everyone. They seem brave, but they might be the ones that are really scared of opening up and being vulnerable and asking for help. That's bravery as well.
And I feel like the reality is that every one of us are scared in areas of our life. We can put on whatever, face to the rest of the world, but we all have our places that terrify us of acting. And, I've chosen to do things like this podcast and, other things, but I also know down deep that I have a timidity that has held me back, in so many different ways. And it's so hard, even something as simple as sending you a message on LinkedIn to say, would you be on this podcast, terrifies me. And others would say, well, that's the silliest thing in the world. But we all have our areas. And so this idea that you are a brave person or are not, and you can't change that is, I think, a core thing. And that's what I loved in your book. I'll probably get in a little bit into the process of bravery with this, but I loved that idea of throwing in that word yet into this, because if we just take that really, really difficult thing, the thing that terrifies us, the thing that we say, impossible, I can't. And if we just said, well, let me just say it and add the word yet, how does that feel? That's a totally different thing. Like, I know I cannot run a marathon yet.
Yeah.
But if I chose to, and I may not choose to, and I am choosing not to, if I chose to, I could, just not yet. And I think that's a powerful mental tool. And some would call it a hack, but it's actually just a truth.
Yeah, it is the truth. It is the truth. And it's, I always have to give credit to the researchers. That comes from Dr. Carol Dweck, very famous psychologist from Stanford, who wrote a book called Growth Mindset. And in her research, she found that when people feel like they have a fixed mindset, where they feel like, in life, like, I'm just not good at things and there's no way that I can do it, versus people who have a growth mindset that believe that I can develop skills and abilities and achieve goals if I put in the hard work and effort. And she found that people who didn't believe it was possible didn't even try. And so these self-limiting beliefs, they impacted their behavior. So then they wouldn't try. And then because they didn't do the behavior, the results were dismal, and they didn't grow, right? So the first thing we have to do is we need to go to the mindset and go, all right, so what is your thought process about whatever this goal is, or whatever in whatever area that you want to be brave. And I love the running example. Like, I just could never run a 5K, or I can't run a marathon yet. Because when you add that word yet, it just opens the door of possibility. It just opens that little door of possibility and say, it is possible. Now, it's not going to be easy. There's going to be quite a lot of preparation that's going to go into it. But if I wanted to do it, I could do it. Right? So yeah, I love Carol Dweck's research on growth mindset. Just use the word Yes. And then I want to add to that because just on the, we always have to start on the cognitive side of when I'm teaching people to be brave. Remember, I've got a psychology background. Like, the cognitive side is like what we think about things is going to make a big impact. So we have to start with mindset. So we've just talked about growth mindset. You can do anything you want. It's, if you choose to. So that is creating agency. People can choose what they're going to do. So that's using the power of yet. But the other thing that I really like to cite is just how we view challenges and stress. So Aaliyah Crum and colleagues, Kelly McGonigal, also famous psychologists, and they have really led the research on stress mindset. So if people believe that encountering challenges and the stress that goes with it, if they feel like that's bad and it should be avoided, then when they encounter stress and challenges, they have a negative reaction to the stress. Psychologically, oh my gosh, everything's wrong. The sky is falling. And they actually have a negative physiological response to the stress. Their blood pressure will go up more. They'll have, more cortisol that is released. Whereas people that believe that stress and challenges make them stronger, people that understand the research, or are taught that, when I'm feeling that stress, my heart pounding a little bit faster, maybe breathing more, this is my body preparing me to perform at my best because it matters. This is going to allow me to grow and to develop. So there's a lot of research on this stress mindset. And this is where I get sometimes frustrated because I feel like everything in media is, stress is horrible for you. It's going to kill you. You want to avoid stress at all costs. And that is simply not the truth. We don't want chronic stress. We don't want stress all day, every day without the rest, but stress, in form of challenges, stretching yourself to achieve things that you really want, that is good stress. You want that stress. So, the combination of these two things, believing that things that you really want are possible, and then realizing that the road to accomplish those things will encounter stress and adversity. And those are good things because it's just like a workout. When you're really sore in the gym, it hurts, but you're like, oh, I had a good workout. You kind of savor that soreness. It should be the same thing. So those are the two, there's 4 things I teach in cognitive, but those are a couple little psychological tools like growth mindset, stress is enhancing mindset. If we can get people thinking that way, then they're more apt to take the step forward. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that. Those who've listened to this podcast for a while also know I'm a golf fanatic. And one of the things I love, listening to when I'm listening to the PGA pros is when they get in contention, the broadcasters will often say, well, how'd you deal with the stress of the moment? And what they will most often do is they will immediately recast and say, I was so excited. And that word excitement is the same as stress. And then they'll usually add on, this is why I play the game, is to get in this situation, not to avoid it. So this is why I'm doing this. And so I think that mindset of realizing that there are different kinds of stress that is can harm and is hurting us, but also stress that is absolutely necessary for growth. And it's why we're living.
Yeah.
It's why we're walking these days. And I think that's so important. I love those 2 points. And
Yeah.
I so agree. Just the cognitive's got to get there first.
Yeah, exactly. And just to add on it, because you've read the book, but for your audience that hasn't, so we've got some of these mental tricks that we've talked about, but then ultimately it comes down to just you got to take the step. I mean, bravery is taking a step, even when you're scared, because it matters. So how do you actually take the step? So you've got to be thinking in your mind the right way, growth mindset and stress is enhancing mindset, but then you've just got to take the step. So one of the psychological tricks is don't overthink it. So decide before tomorrow what your plan is and the actions that you're going to take that are going to lead you toward your goals. So make the decisions before the next day on the actions that you will take. And then make sure that you preload those most challenging tasks that are going to lead you to your goal first thing in the morning. Because what we find is sometimes we talk ourselves out of it. We get up in the morning, we're like, well, should I do the hard thing or should I not? So plan your day before the day. So plan your day the night before. And this is the plan that you're going to create to honor yourself and your goals so that you can become that person that you know you're meant to be. So you make the decision what to do. And then you get up in the morning and you immediately spring into action. So don't think about what should I do. You already have a plan. You go right into executing, because if people pause and start thinking about it, they sometimes, talk themselves out of it. And then based on Roy Baumeister's research, who, another psychologist, that he talks about, our cognitive ability, like our brain has a full power first thing in the morning to do hard things. And throughout the day, our battery goes down, down, down until at the end of the day, we're on red. Like we barely have any battery left. So I think a lot of times people wait until the end of the day to do the really hard thing. And then they don't have that willpower to do it because they're not optimizing their day. So just, as this is all behavioral psychology, plan your actions in advance so you're not making decisions on what is comfortable or not, right? So you're going to do your implementation and expectations. It's what Goldwitzer calls in psychology. So you're just going to plan your day. So you've made the decision the day before and you go right into executing. Go right into executing mode. Don't think about it. I'm very well known for telling people never, ever, ever press snooze again in life. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart, because you set your alarm the night before because you have your day planned and you have things to do and to get accomplished. And when your alarm goes off, if the first thing you do is you hit snooze, you're breaking a promise to yourself and you're starting your day off not on a good foot. So when the alarm goes off, jump out of bed and keep your promise to yourself. And also when you look at sleep research, the extra, 9 minutes they give you or whatever it is, 8 minutes, 9 minutes, it does not make you any more rested. So there's no value in pressing snooze. Jump out of bed. Don't press snooze again. Put the alarm clock on the other side of the room, right? So you've got to get up and just jump into action. And when that happens, Tommy, when people do that, when they start planning their day the day before, keeping promises to themselves, you're going to jump out of bed, attack the day, do the hardest thing first. You end up experiencing more positive emotions because you get a dopamine hit and you feel so good because by 9 o'clock in the morning, you're going to say, wow, I already got that really hard thing done. What am I going to do next? So people feel unstoppable. They feel they're more productive, but they're in a better mood. And then they just have that momentum for the rest of the day. So these are like little things that we can do to make sure that at the end of the day, we look back at our day and go, wow, I'm proud of myself. I'm proud of myself. That was a good day. And then you get to relax.
How do you help people right size their bravery? That is, maybe it's almost a mental trick for some people who don't want to be brave, as they take on something that's so large that they're defeated before they ever get started. Is there too small a step forward for people to take? How do we figure out the right steps forward?
Yeah, great question. Great question. It's different for every person. It should be something that makes people uncomfortable, but it is possible with hard work and with effort. So if someone says, I want to become a famous actor, I want to be a movie star, I would not want them to quit their job because they're supporting 4 kids and get on a plane to Hollywood and stand in line to audition for a top movie. That, so you've got to think about what is the ultimate goal that I have. And then you need to think of what are the steps to be able to get there? And you start off with step 1 and then step 2 and step 3. So that's how we build self-confidence over time, is to break it down into those steps, right? So if someone did want to become, or maybe there's a young person that wants to become an actress someday or an actor someday, I would say the first thing they're going to do is maybe sign up for some acting classes and try to be in the small local theater and start there. And those two things are going to be probably uncomfortable and challenges. And they do that. Then they take the next step and the next step. So it really kind of depends on the person. Like for me, speaking in front of 1,000 or 2,000 people, that is not scary for me because I've done so much speaking. Someone else might think of, oh my gosh, getting on a stage in front of 1,000 people is the scariest thing ever. So it really depends on you, what your goals are and what you really want, and then coming up the steps to get there. And so that's where it's really helpful for someone to have, a coach, someone helping them outline those steps. Because you're so right. I love that you bring that up. I think people sometimes set, especially at the beginning of the year, like these wild, crazy goals, like, oh, I just heard David Goggins and he runs 15 miles a day. So I'm going to get up every day and run 15 miles. And then they can't do that. So then they feel worse about themselves because they couldn't keep it up. So the size of the goal needs to be that right level. It's like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. It not too little, or it's too easy, but not impossible. What is something realistic that you could accomplish in the next 6 to 9 months? And whatever that is the goal that you set for yourself. And then you work toward that. And then when you accomplish that, then you're like, okay, now I need to stretch myself again. What's the next goal? Right? We should always be making ourselves uncomfortable right. And it's personal because everyone has different goals and different abilities.
Yeah, and one of the things kind of right along the lines of what you're saying there is that I feel like sometimes people just get this burst of energy and they want to be brave and they'll set 10 areas of their life that they want to be brave in, and they might all be possible in and of themselves, but to do 10 all at once is just asking for failure. So I love to tell people, find one thing that is a really important thing that's hopefully a game-changing thing, and just begin with that one thing, and begin to build those types of muscles and those types of confidence. Then you've got plenty of time in life to add other things onto the plate. But if you start too big, too many things all at once that you're trying to change, it won't happen.
Yeah. You can't boil, what is it? You can't boil the ocean, right? So you've got to select one thing at a time. Yeah, absolutely. And this is where, sometimes when I talk about strategy, like in organizations, it's like the strategies for our life, like strategy, according to Michael Porter, like the leading thought leader in strategy, he says strategy is choice. You have to choose what are the most important things that you really want to work on for you. And that means you're going to have to say no to other things that you may not have room for. So like, you've got to make that choice. What's the most important change that you want to make in your life? Or what's the one goal that you want to work toward first? So start small and then be consistent. I mean, you are what you consistently do. So whatever you decide that you're going to do, you need to take action toward it pretty much every day, or at least 5 or 6 days a week. So a little bit of action every single day is going to get you so much further than going all in for like a week and then quitting because you get burned out. So yes.
Sure. It's going to change you from the inside out, when you do that. So that's great. I love the thought because it's so counterintuitive to think of bravery as a strategy. And yet it does, involve that. So, gosh, there's so many good things. One of the things that I think about often, and I'd love to know how you might recommend someone address this thing, is when the brave thing that they most need to do involves either saying no to something or stopping something that's going on in their lives. And when we're really caught in a bad place, it's very often that we can't get to the good things until we've dealt with that bad thing that is basically sabotaging everything else. And yet that choice might be the most difficult and the most important brave action, so to speak. Do you find that conversation going on a lot?
Yeah, yeah. One of my good friends, his name is John Register. He's an amputee. He's an Army veteran, also a Paralympic athlete. He's got a medal, and I love his little phrase. I'm going to use it here because he says this from the stage when he does his keynotes. But he says sometimes there's things you have to amputate in life to elevate your life, and he uses this analogy, which is great. He goes, when you have to cut something out of your life to say no to let go of, and he said, like, his leg, right? It's painful. You're going to miss it. Life is never going to be the same again. But what do you need to let go of, right? That will be hard. It will be painful, but that you must let go of that to elevate your life. So sometimes we just talk about what am I going to add? What am I going to add? What am I going to add? And then we lose capacity and that can lead to burnout. So as you are pursuing like higher level goals to make a bigger impact in your business, in your life, to your family, etc., you've got to realize there's other things you might have to say no to, that you might have to, again, amputate to elevate. You might have to let go of, and it's not going to be easy and it might hurt a little, but it's the best thing. Right. And it can be even as simple as, like, well, I've always done this. Like, I'm always the one to do this, and this around the house. Right. But, have you heard of that book where it says, like, buy back your time? Right. I was kind of struggling after I wrote the book and I'm doing more speaking and I just had so much on my plate because I was doing everything myself. And I had to let go of a lot of the work that I was doing and hire an assistant to do it. And, I've always done it and that's one of the things I had to let go of those things and hire someone now, but now it allows me to operate at a much higher level and go toward my higher level goals. So yeah, I think, as I sometimes talk with audiences, I'm like, what do you want to, like, what is the life that you want that you don't have right now? What do you need to start doing consistently in order to get there? What things do you need to stop doing in order to get there? Because there's a finite amount of time. And what things should you continue doing that are good habits? And it's a really powerful exercise, just called the start, stop, continue. And what actions would you need to take to let go of those things? Could someone else do those things? Why is it that you're so attached to doing it? Will you make a commitment to stop doing those things if they're not serving your goal achievement or the person that you want to be?
That's great. And I think kind of certainly my experience is sometimes one of the most key things, in terms of bravery is just a single decision. It may be a single
Mm,
decision, say, I'm going to hire someone. It might be a single decision to fire someone. It might be
mm,
a single decision to say, I'm going to stop something. And it's that single decision that
mm.
pivots everything in life. So I'd love to perhaps kind of close our time. And I think you were just framing this in such a helpful way, because I'm imagining that those who are listening, that there's a large number for whom this does not come naturally. They
Mm,
are not people who would consider themselves brave. They don't consider it easy or even doable. And so you had that start, stop type of methodology, because being brave, there's a starting point. You have to, not only deal with the mindset, but you have to deal with, well, what am I going to be brave about? If I'm
mhm,
going to start this journey to becoming a different person, where am I going to start this journey? So
mhm.
uh, help those who are listening with something tangible on where do you start this journey if you feel like, this is just not who I am.
Yeah. Um, what I want to share is I think the one strategy I've not shared will make it easier for your audience. It sounds like everything we've been talking about, like you have to change your mindset and then you got to take the steps, even though you're scared. All that sounds really hard. So let me give your audience something that's going to make this easier. And that is, it's the third door in the book, the third element in the model, and it's who you surround yourself with. So if someone wants to become a runner because it's important for their health, it's a goal they've always had. So we're already going to make sure that they do the mindset. Like, I'm just not a runner yet. They've said that. They say, okay, the stress and the challenge of getting up and running, this is going to make me stronger. So they believe they should do it. And they get up, they decide in the mornings they're going to go for a run, and they're going to just jump out of bed and they're just going to spring right into action so we've got, the cognitive side done, the behavioral side done. But for someone who says like, well, it's just not me, it's just hard for me to do brave things. One of the easiest ways that can help you become the person that you want to be is to find people that have accomplished the thing that you're seeking to do. Let's just use the running example. If most of the people you hang out with, you absolutely love hanging out on the couch with them, watching football or playing video games, and that is your circle of friends or people who are not active, it's going to be really hard for you to accomplish that goal. So we sometimes have to look at, how do we change our environment? Who are people who have gone from not being runners to runners? And let me seek those people out, and let me maybe join a running group. Let me find a new circle of people where they have the same value and they have accomplished that goal. So if you start hanging out with people that are runners, they're going to be the ones probably not staying up until 2 o'clock in the morning, gaming all night. They're going to be the ones that are going to eat a healthy dinner and go to bed. And they're going to say, we're going to meet you on the trail in the morning. So environment is a huge factor that can help you take that brave action. I was just in Philadelphia hearing Angela Duckworth, who wrote a book on grit. She was lecturing, and her new book, she hasn't figured out the name for it, but she said, when it comes to grit, she goes, there's something that I was missing, and it was really the environment, right? And so we can choose to change our environment to support our goal achievement. When I decided to write my book, The Bravery Effect, I didn't really know any authors. So I went out and I sought out people through my alumni network, people who had written books, and I created relationships with them. I joined a mastermind with others. So I surrounded myself with people who have written books. And so that supported me, because on the road to accomplishing whatever goal or becoming brave in whatever area that you have, when you surround yourself with what I call a brave tribe and you talk to these people, they're going to share with you that they had challenges on the journey as well. And when you look up to these people and you're like, what? You successful best-selling author, you had challenges writing your book. They're going to go, oh yeah, I did too. It just makes you feel so much more normal. Like, oh, the struggle, everyone goes through the struggle. It's normal. So when you have this brave tribe, there's going to be ups and downs on your path to becoming this person that you want to be. On the up days, you don't really need a lot of support. On the down days, that's when you need to lean on your brave tribe, because they're the ones that are not going to let you tap out when you're tired and you want to quit. They're going to be the ones saying like, I've been in your place. It's hard right now, but keep going, keep going. They're going to encourage you. They're going to put courage into you. And that's what encourage means, to take courage and give it to others. So the more you surround yourself with people like that, that will make it easier for you to become that person that you want to be.
That's so huge. And I think it's so important for us to kind of get over this sense that to ask for help or to surround ourselves with a tribe is a sign of weakness. I think it's a sign of strength, that we're willing to get beyond ourselves to do this, to realize that none of us are meant to live life alone. And that's where often the greatest joy is in walking with others. So I love that. So mindset, the actions, and the community, and that really fills the circle. That is the strategy behind bravery. And it is possible. So I would maybe just want to offer a final challenge to those who are listening to say, do something with this. Take
Mm,
some part of what's we've talked about, which may be mindset, it might be actions, it might be community, but
mhm.
to come and not just having listened to a podcast, but to do something. And even if you're someone who does this pretty well, we all have our continuing issues that we need to grow in. So, um,
Mm.
thank you, Jill. This is fantastic. And it's one of those episodes I love for Space for Life because it's encouraging people towards becoming who they're really meant to be, to not just have more knowledge, but to actually grow. And I think that's what's just absolutely so exciting about it all.
Yeah, and as you say that too, I think like sometimes we just drift in life.
Yes.
We just let life take us wherever. Like you can steer your life in the direction that you want to become the person you want, but it does require you to be brave, to take control, to have agency for your life. And this is what I want for anyone that I speak to. So just on my website, I have a free Brave Action Guide that has all the tips that we've talked about here and more. So if people go to my website, take the free bravery assessment, it's going to give you a score on all those different areas. And then it gives you a free Brave Action Guide. So you can print it out. It's going to ask you to write down your goals, and it's going to take you through all these things to support you in your goal success. So, and my website's just my name. It's jillschulman.com. Take the bravery assessment, download all the free goodies. And then let me know, just like Tommy did. He reached out to me on LinkedIn after he read the book. So if anyone does that and it helps you, like, I'd love to hear from you.
Great. And that's Schulman with one L, correct?
Yep. Yep. Just one.
So great. Yeah. It's a great website. So really appreciate that. Uh, a final little note. We shared this, I think, over LinkedIn. Um, uh, an interesting side to bravery is that it's fun. So for my 65th birthday, we shared that we have both jumped out of airplanes before. And, that was one of those wild, kind of crazy things for me to decide to do. But I thought, why not? So I had the idea and I put it out there, told people that I was going to do it so I couldn't back out of it,
Right.
easily. And I did it, and it'll be a memory for the rest of my life. And that's what's really exciting. Bravery and these steps forward they can be an adventure and they can be so much fun. So it's so worth the hard
Mhm.
work to become
Yeah.
great.
Exactly. It's exhilarating. You'll have a
It,
fuller
it
life.
is.
You
Yeah.
will have a better life to be brave. And just maybe to end on this note, you know, happiness, the life that you want is completely within your grasp. And I want everyone to know that. I want everyone to feel like, if you feel like you're in a rut because you've always been doing things a certain way, right? And you're not super happy, start making these little changes because everyone deserves to live their happiest life. And just choosing to stay in that little comfortable groove can turn into like a rut where you're not happy and fulfilled. So please, like, for your own happiness and the happiness of everyone around you, just choose to go after those goals that your heart desires. And it's going to require some bravery, and but it'll be exhilarating, and you'll be so glad that you did it. And that way, at the end of our life, we won't look back on our life with regret, right? We'll look back with pride. Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much, Jill. This has been a delight to talk together, and I'm so excited for people to hear this episode. Certainly, yeah, those who are listening, there's something in this for everyone. There's also people for us to share this episode with because this is an area that every single one of us needs to constantly grow in. So, Jill, thank you so much for being on Space for Life. And people share the episode, and we'll be back next week. Thanks, everyone.
Bye, everyone.